The next little project, going to be looking at this garden gate. It's only a cheap thing, but it's for my mother-in-law, and we're kind of limited in the amount of space we've got. We've got a garage and a concrete fence post that's already existing, so that's 910 millimeters, I think it is. The gap we've got is only 870, and on top of that I've got to put a support post onto the garage wall. So there's a couple of things I'm going to do. I'm going to chop this down and make it fit. It's not going to be symmetrical. I'm going for function over form with this. I want to leave the hinge side alone. The post that this is going to lock against and hinge off of, we're going to treat it with the Japanese burnt wood technique. So where you burn it, clean it, and then you oil it. We use tung oil. And then to make this look a little bit pretty, I'm going to try and do some pyrography on it. I'm going to have the name of the house on here, and she's into dragons, so I'm going to put a dragon on the side there. I was going to combine the two. She's a Meatloaf fan. I have her favourite Meatloaf song, Old Bat Out of Hell, but wife wouldn't let me do it. So I've just clamped a bit of timber, the hinge I'm going to use, just to the bottom of the door, so I can get my overall dimension, because at the moment we're at 955, so that's well over our 870 limit. So what I'm going to do is draw on a line here, 870, and then measure this part. This is a bit we're going to reuse. We're going to cut this off and then put it back on again. So this is 69 millimeters, so 69 from there is here. Right, so from the end of this, 84. So if we go 84, I'm going to move this line. 84 is now there. Same again, all the way up. I'm just going to measure 84. Ignore this line. That's my mark. So that's going to make the overall dimension of this 860. So there's a little bit of a gap either side. This bit here, this bit and that bit, I'm going to cut them off. But if you look, this door, this gate, there's a little recess there for these. So I think the first thing is I'm going to get this bit off, get these out of the way. I'm going to cut these separately because these got to be longer. What I don't want to do is get carried away, cut this, chop this, and find out that I'm, whatever that is, 10 mil too short. Now the challenge is to get these nails out without damaging this wood. I mean, this bit I'm cutting off, so that's a good place to practice on. And I'm just using this bit of scrap to lever against. I don't want to damage this edge if I can help it. What I'm going to do, that's where I need my cut, a finished cut. But I'm just going to lob it off here, get rid of this end, and do it. It'll give me an idea of how this saw's going to cut it, because I don't want any tear out. So I'll do a rough practice cut first, and then move this over, just nip the ends off where I want them. That's cut down to size now. Had pretty minimal tear out. I mean, it's a garden gate, it's not a piece of fine furniture. There's nothing I can't neaten up with a chisel and a little bit of sandpaper. So that's that done. Now I've got to clean the end off, because obviously it's got the stubs on it. You may notice I've gone proud, because I figured rather than try and get my saw across here without damaging it, I'm just going to put it in a planer, and hopefully that'll, it's not ideal because it's end grain, but if I do it gradually I might have a bit more control over it. We'll see how it works. If it doesn't, I'll have to revisit this way. that'll do. So it's got a tenon joint and they've been stapled or nailed from this side. I stood no chance of getting them out, but right, that is the plan. I marked where these edges were, so this will be up and down correct. There's a couple of little high bits I've got to knock down, but other than that, and what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to screw it. I'm going to counterbore these holes a little bit so that I can, out of the bits I cut off, make a couple of plugs, put them in so you won't see it, and that should be hopefully strong enough, because this is just the shut in, the hinge ends that side. I couldn't do the tenon joints, but that would have been a nicer way of doing it. But however, so this is screwed on now. I just did a 5mm hole and then a 12.5mm larger hole, because that's what I'm going to put my little plugs in. 12.5mm is a bit more of a snug fit of this stuff. It's quite soft, this stuff, so it'll go in there nicely and hopefully take up any gaps once it's got some glue around it. So that's gluing at the moment. Yeah, it's okay. It's not perfect. The timber kind of runs out, so this bit here is actually thicker than the bit I cut off, so I'll have to try and adjust that if I can. But it's a garden gate, I'm not going to get too carried away. But anyway, I'm going to let that glue go off, and then we'll look at putting the plugs in. So this is a bit of the wood or the frame that I cut off, so we know it's the same type of timber, same sort of shade as well. Hopefully we better make it line up. Now put it in a clamp. You want to hold this still. This is just a cheap plug cutter from, I think I got it from Aldi's, a set of 4. It's like a tenner or something, so it's not the best, but it'll do. If we hold this still, we need 3 of these. Done 3 already. Easiest way I find to get these out is just to get a screwdriver and then snap them off at the bottom, because these are tapered, so this is the bit that's actually going to go in the hole, and we're going to cut this end off. So they don't need to be pretty, they just need to be big enough, if you know what I mean. So we get that one off. See, that one's got a bit of a straight edge on it, so I think I'll redo that. Probably had the holes too close together. However, there we go. So get rid of that one. That one's junk. And now all we do is we take our plug. That's the nice side. That's the side that wants to go in. This is the side that we snapped it off from, because these are tapered. So they're this sort of shape, if you know what I mean. So we're going to wedge it in there, but we put a little bit of glue round. My dad always used to say it's not about the amount of glue you put on, it's about the amount of glue that squishes out. Quite what he meant by that, I'm still not too sure, but right, I'll wipe that off. They're set, we'll just let them go off now. I always get impatient and tempted to try and cut them off too soon, but let it go off I'll do that tomorrow now, and then we'll cut them as low as we can, and then finish it off with a chisel, and then take the sander to it. That's that back together. I just stripped this down, or ripped this down near enough, and then finished it off with a planer and just re-chamfered this edge just so it matches all the others, and then obviously re-nailed it. So that was a fairly easy bit. Got a bit of a chip there that it's lifted, but other than that, I'll run a sander over this and should be okay. That one's a bit rough, that one's not too bad. These two are okay, that one's pretty good, and that one's chipped as well. That's the trouble with softwood, if you chip it. I had a little nick in my chisel which I've just spotted as well, which probably didn't help. But anyway, it's a garden gate, it's plenty good enough for that. Just give it some oil. The two posts, one's going to go onto the wall and the other one's going to swing onto the concrete fence post that's there. Give me something to screw into for the latch and to make it all look neat. But I'm going to preserve it using the Japanese burning technique. So I've never done it before. I've had a go at one already. I'm going to give this one a go. Basically blow torch it, clean it off, and then we're using tung oil to try and preserve it, make it look a little bit moody, look a bit nicer. When I looked up how to do this, a lot of people were saying use a weed whacker, but I tried that and it just took a month of Sundays. So map gas. I'm not sure how long to do this for, because I think you used to set fire to them, but yeah. So I let this sit for a couple of days. When it was dry after washing it, I just cleaned it with some white spirit. What I'm going to do now is, this is tung oil and 50% white spirit. So this will be the first one, maybe two coats, and then we'll go on to a little bit less white spirit. Do the back first. I'm just going to rub this in. We'll leave this for half an hour and then wipe off any excess. This is a fairly thin coat, so it should penetrate quite nicely. Hopefully you can see this, where the grain is, it's kind of sunk down a little bit, recessed, so there's a bit of texture to it. And the lighter bits look quite moody, so it's looking quite good. Unfortunately, this is the back, this is going to be screwed to the post. Now, with the end grain, I'm just dabbing it on, letting it soak up. It's trying to like rub a cloth. It's like trying to rub a cloth across sandpaper. I'm just dabbing it. Whether that's the right way to do it or not, I don't know, but just making it wet. And then the bottom, make sure I give that a good soaking, because most of these fence posts and that, as you know, will tend to rot from the bottom first, so we'll make sure we get that good coverage. That's it, still wet, but it's quite a moody looking piece of wood now. Hopefully this comes out. But, yeah, so far so good. Have to excuse the rain. The plot thickens with this. This is fairly, what's the word, dull, I suppose. So we're going to try and spruce it up a little bit. I want to try and add some of the burning technique to maybe the edges or something, try and make it look a bit different, I suppose. Got the name of the house on here, and then something she's into. I'm going to do this. This could be a stroke of genius, or it could look like an absolute dog's breakfast, but basically I haven't got any carbon paper, so what I did was here, basically I'm going to mask and tape this down so it stays where it is, and then press down with a pencil. That'll give me an indent, because this is fairly soft, and then I'll just go over it with a pencil to draw it out like I did up there. And then we're going to do some, is it pyrography, basically a soldering iron of sorts. This is a cheap Aldi thing. Just laying this out, I want to try and make it look, that's the edge of that post there. I want it to look like that's kind of grabbing hold of it. I want to do something with it like it's spitting fire if I can, so I've had to cut its head off and reposition it. So then when I trace it, I'm going to have to try and be a bit more gentle with the slope of the neck. But other than that, it's literally going to be me pressing down on this with a pencil and try and mark out where it goes. So I did the name and it wasn't too bad. The pencil doesn't like it, but that's what we invented sharpeners for, I suppose. Let's see if this comes out, and then I'll crack on with this, and I'll bring you back when it's looking something. But yeah, carbon paper I think would be a lot easier, but I haven't got any, and I've got no patience, so I think what I'll do is I'll mark it and draw it as I go. Otherwise this could get very confusing. Keep laying this backwards and forwards, but let me crack on with that. hit a little snag. There's a knot there. And the wood around it is quite hard, so that's where carbon paper would have probably made this a lot easier. And I have to make this bit up. If you can see what I'm doing actually. There's a bit there. Hopefully there's a soft bit there. Yep. Oh, of course that knot, look at that. That's going to burn funny as well. And then try and get this bit. Surprised I haven't broke this pencil yet. I think that's it. I think it's good enough. Take you around and have a proper look at it. There we have it. Zoom out a bit. It's quite dark in here, the weather's really funny today. Just had hailstones and now the sun's out like you wouldn't believe. This is global warming, you can poke it. I'd like to go back to the old system. Right, so that's that. Next bit is to heat the soldering iron up and start burning. I've started without you. I wanted to get a feel for it, but I've had this really stupid idea. I don't know if I can pull it off, but basically with this you kind of just burn it and pull it. If you pull it, it'll give you a nice sharp line and then you can fade it out. But obviously all this has got to be coloured in. But on the body, when I was doing this bit, I thought it looked quite nice that I was doing it in little bits like dragon scales. So I might try and make the whole thing look like it's got dragon scales on it, which means it's going to take a month for Sundays to do this. But anyway, in case I don't get around to filming that bit, I thought I'd just show you a bit of burning. It's quite therapeutic, this is. Never had a lesson in my life. Look. Obviously, if you never see this video, it's because it turned out to be a real bag of the proverbial. If it never sees the light of day, you'll know why. Well, you won't, but I think I can use the tip to outline these. Got no idea how to make these teeth look like teeth other than it's a silhouette. Should we call it a silhouette? I want them to look sharp. One thing I have learnt on the one time that I've done this before is steady hand, because if you make a mistake you can't go back. Right, it says to well. I don't know if I'm shading this on the right side or not, but I'm going to leave it like that. So there's a bit of white on here, just to make it pop. I want the eye to be really sort of defined. So I'm going to do this bit. I think I'm making this up as I go along. So. But then I'll do the old Glam Rock eyeliner. I should check if the camera's actually pointing down at this. What do you think of that? the dragon. Got a bit carried away, I didn't feel much of it. It was chucking it down with rain. You wouldn't have heard anything anyway, but not that that's a bad thing. But yeah, just lots of little, try and zoom in on that. No, it's not going to focus. Just touching the tip of the iron. Probably about an hour and a half maybe, but from a distance I think it's alright. What I'm going to try and do now is make it look like it's breathing fire. Here's the plan, that's my stencil. I want to make a fairly thin breathing fire, and I want to try and make it look like it's round, and the only way I can think to do that is to try and do one edge, this edge, and then put a line of soot in the middle. This is a bit high for me as well, which isn't going to help. Let me grab this. We've got one shot. Try and get up here. I'm using this so I can try and aim it at this wood to get the effect of the flame rather than directly burn it. I'm just going to go for it. I've got the flame down low. I'll get a point in here. Oh, this is good. Alright, I'm going to do the edge. Oh, it stinks. This might look really naff, and I've got no way of repairing it. I'll get right up in there if I can. There we go. Right, and in the middle. That'll do. I'm tempted to go a bit more, but I think I might just try it. This might be where I screw this up. I just want to darken that underneath. Could go too far. That'll do, leave it at that. Quick while we're ahead. With these letters, what I want it to look like is a sharp line on the outside and then sort of blending in to the middle. I'm not sure how I'm going to achieve that. My test piece is to just follow the edge along it and keep it over at an angle, and hopefully the burn will come in and then blend out. This again is, got to go for it, I suppose. I'm working this way so I'm not rubbing my hand across what I've already done. But let's just get a feel for it. This is quite resinous as well, so I have to keep cleaning it off. And when I did that knot right at the end of that bit, it was shocking. You can still see it now, the amount of resin that come out. But let's stop putting it off. I'm hoping something like that. And then when I go back the other way, it will blend in. If not, I'll just do the whole thing jet black. So I have got with this one, I've got a bit of a backup plan. And I have been using the fan to blow this out of the way. But obviously if I've got the fan on, you won't hear anything. Alright, stop short of the edge. I'm just going to don't know if that would work if I just did the line. Let me do this edge. Right, let's put this down safely and have a look. Yeah, I think I'll do the back bit, otherwise it'll just look. I'll try it from this angle and show you what I've did. Oops. A couple of things, keeping it clean. This tip keeps working loose as well. I'm guessing on an expensive pyrography set. Pyrography set. You probably wouldn't get that. Try and get rid of that. The trick is knowing when you've done enough to leave one alone. Right, I have to move you out of the way, I'm afraid. Right, there we go. Right, well, you get the gist of what's going on. I've got the other bits to do, and then I'll show you how it turned out. That's the finished gate. It needs oiling, obviously, and I might do a bit of smoky bits here and there, but I don't want to over egg the pudding. But from a distance, it looks all right. So we mount this to here. This is a concrete fence post, and this is the shut for the gate. So I'm just going to use wall plugs, get this level. Out there. And I've got a 4mm drill which will fit through my holes. I'll mark my hole, and then we can go at it with a 5mm pilot drill. So I'm putting a fairly beefy raw plug in here, which takes an 8mm hole. So I've got a 5, a 6 and an 8, and we'll gradually go up in sizes. A bit of tape to set the depth. Now what I'm going to do on this one, just tap this in. And then, I don't like these sticking out. If they don't go flush when you hit it, just a little bit more of a tap with that. I don't want the raw plug holding a bit of timber out. Now when I was lining this up, it obviously shifted, so I've done the top one. Now I'm going to swing it off the top one and make leveling it easier. So, it's not massively tight, it's just enough so that when I set the level now, that's bang on. Now we'll take the 4mm, pop it in there, do a decent pilot. Now we can swing that out the way, back to the 5mm. That was the 6, here's the 8. Now this should screw. That's it. Sometimes they grab near the surface and bunch up. So if you put a screw in it, you're directing the force lower down the raw plug, if you know what I mean, further down, so it pulls it rather than pushes it. Now, don't over tighten these, because literally this is just supporting the latch and finishing. It's more like a trim than a structural bit. But that's that. I've done that one. Now we'll look at doing the gate. Why is it screws that come with stuff are always shocking? I'm going to deepen these pilot holes. Right. This would be a good time to have a pencil, but obviously not. So again, I'm just going to mark one hole, screw that in, and hopefully I'll be able to pivot it in order to get it where it needs to be. Prior planning and all that, joys of working away from home. That's what I want it to do, right there. Right, that's the latch, that's the gate on. Little bit of a drama. The rise on that meant I had to set that a lot higher than I wanted to, so that it clears. But it's on, and the return spring doesn't fit because of the angle of this, so I've got to figure out another way of doing that. But there we go, that's the gate done.